people, welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today I'm bringing you one of my dear friends and my guest, Sowmya. So Sowmya and I met at Creative Mornings Melbourne. The day that we met was her first Melbourne event, and I thought that she was the speaker's assistant, so then I went over to have a chat. But it turns out that she was just an attendee who happens to live so close by to where I used to live. So we started talking, and then our friendship grew. It was so amazing to have someone to go for a walk from time to time, not only because we get to spend some time with each other, but also because she is such a beautiful human being. I'm so excited for her to share her story with you, and if you are a mother, keep watching. Or if you're soon to be a parent, keep watching as well, because Sowmya, she is a creative and also a mother. So enjoy the interview!
So before we do anything, I just want to say thank you, because I know that you have a little one at home. So thank you so much for sparing your time for me.
Oh, I love doing this. I love doing this for you.
Thank you. And me too. And it is so good to see your face.
Same. It's been like long, so it's so good to see your face.
So before we tell people about you and your story and what you do, I would love to ask, how are you feeling today?
Today's I'm feeling pretty good, because I feel like it's not really a uniform thing during this lockdown and the pandemic. Like, some days are low on energy, some days are high on energy, and it depends on a lot of factors, ranging from in Melbourne, it's weather. Weather is a big part of how I feel. It also is a sunny day today, so I feel wonderful. And I've spent some time outdoors, and that's always a good thing. And so I'm feeling pretty good today.
That's good. So you have already went outside and got some sun?
Yeah, we went outside. Victoria has just allowed now people to meet in parks. So we went outside to the park and we met a friend and Sufi's friend. So it was nice to see people and get a coffee and just be outside in the sun and just feel all warmed up in my bones. And I had a nice coffee and I've had some rest. So that's good too. Rest is also another big part of feeling good. So I feel good.
Yay! That's good. Thank you for being honest about, what makes you feel good and what doesn't, because what you have shared, I'm sure a lot of people are relating to that, because weather and tiredness and everything does affect people's mood. Now, would you like to share with more people what you do and about your story, how you have started your creative journey?
Yeah, sure. So I am a writer, both by profession and also not by profession. So I'm a writer, I guess, all around. I work in a lifestyle company called Adair's, where I work part-time as a content producer. So I do a lot of the writing work for them, whether it is the website or a bit of social media, a bit of, in general, styling posts and all sorts of writing that Adair's needs as a company. In addition to that, I'm also an essayist. So I write personal non-fiction essays. And that's, I think, something that I've been doing for a while now, for as long as I can remember. I think the first memory I have with writing is when I was only, I think, 4 or 5 years old, where I had a notebook that I would make from pages that were left over from all my other school notebooks, and I'd make one notebook out of all the leftover pages and I'd write stories in it. So I've been writing forever, and now the shape that it's taken right now is personal non-fiction essays. I write about my experiences, I write about personal growth, I write about the learnings that I get from day-to-day life, and I try to be as honest as possible in my essays. And I write like shorter essays, I guess, on Instagram, and longer form essays on Medium and on my website.
Yeah, I love it. Wait, so people can find out your essays and everything on your website?
Yes.
Amazing.
They can find out on my website as well as on Medium, which is a sort of a platform where writers can write, I guess. So that's where I share a lot of my essays. That's a more social way of sharing my essays. Yeah.
Yeah, love it. I will leave your details in the description below. So for those who are interested in reading something amazing, please go check it out. So how did you become a writer?
I think it was something that was a big part of my personality right from when I was little. So it started off over there. I think my writing comes from the fact that I feel sensitive to everything around me. And sometimes you're so sensitive to like the things in day-to-day life that it can seem overwhelming, because you feel affected by the weather intensely, you are affected by people intensely, you are affected by your life, you're affected by pretty much everything actually. And I needed a way to sort of channelize all that and also process my own thoughts. So that became a way in which I started writing. And when I would write, I would also get a lot of people telling me that they enjoyed what I write. So that sort of encouraged me. But what it essentially started off as a way to process my feelings and put it out there. And I'm a fairly introverted person, so I think that that's a way in which I could see all my thoughts on paper, and I could, move paragraphs, restructure things, make sense of anything that was overwhelming me or anything that was playing on my mind. It was a good way for me to sort of put it out there and make sense of the world around me. Yeah, and I just took it forward in my education and in my career as well. I joined, my post-graduation was in journalism and mass communication, where we did a lot of writing. I started working with news channels and newspapers, essentially writing. So I think it was just my skill set that I knew I had, and I just decided to explore that.
Yeah, that's amazing, because I personally do believe in journaling as well, and basically you're sharing all these personal experiences with many people. So thank you for that. For those people who don't know you personally and who are not yet to follow you on Instagram, they wouldn't know that you have a daughter, Sufi.
I do. I have a toddler. She's 2 years and a few months, maybe 4 or 5 months. I don't know for sure, but yeah, 2 and something.
She's adorable. I miss her so much.
Oh, thank you. She misses you too. We all miss you.
Oh, thank you. Would you like to share with people about being a creative and being a mom with a young one at home?
Yeah, so it has been, I think the way I look at it, it has affected my creativity in two ways. One is that it's a lot of new experiences on a day-to-day basis. So that is a lot of stimuli for me, and I use that as fodder to write. So it sort of encourages me to think. Also, it places these new restrictions around my creativity, so I can't write whenever I want to, or I can't just take the day for granted and see that, oh, maybe I'll write when I have some time in the afternoon, I'll just go for a walk now. It's not as fluid. So that brings me to the second part of it, is that it's put certain restrictions around my creativity, which I believe on certain days I view that as an absolute blessing, because when there are restrictions around creativity, I feel like there's more that can come out of you. When you place certain restrictions, I feel that you are pushed to go outside your comfort zone. So, but there are certain days when you feel absolutely exhausted because you have no time to yourself and to think, and those days I feel like it's a bit of a compromise, not being able to write as and when you want and have these long hours where, the afternoon turns to evening and turns to night and you're still writing. That doesn't happen anymore. I have to get a bit strategic around when I want to write. I need to wake up in the morning before she's awake so that I can write. in the afternoons when she goes for a nap is when I can write. Like right now she's napping, so I can do my projects, I can talk to you, I can have like some time to myself where I write. So it has to be a little more strategic. But just having said that, being a mother has challenged me in so many ways, and challenges always make for great writing for me personally. So yeah, that's what it's like right now.
That's great, because some people may take it too hard and, you know, lose their creativity part of it, or lose themselves. So I am very, very happy that you took it in another way. So speaking of parenting, I feel like a lot of people don't understand how hard it is to be a parent, or maybe some people do understand.
So most parents understand it, I guess.
So for people who are yet to have kids, would you like to share with them what was the hardest thing that you had to overcome?
Yeah, sure. I think the hardest thing for me has been not having time to myself as much as I did before. And I think as someone who does a lot, like I need a lot of alone time to process my feelings, and I feel like if I'm in a social situation for a long time, I need to balance that out by being alone and being in the quiet for a long time. But with a child, although they're a part of you and you don't feel like you're in social company, it's still, you have someone around you and you have to place someone's needs over yours in a lot of situations. So there may be times when I just want to sit and have a cup of tea in silence and think, or process, or, you know, figure out what I want to do. But that's not always possible with the child. So that has been, I think, one of the biggest challenges I have faced from in various stages, even right when I had her, which was intense and there was like no time at all, to now when she's older and more independent and I do have some more time, but it's still a negotiation. It's still, if I have some time, I cannot just, if I have an idea and inspiration, I can't just sit on the laptop or on my notebook. On my notebook I can, but on my laptop I can't sit and write an essay. So what I do is like I make a few notes in my notebook and visit that later. So it is a bit of, that's I think I'd say one of the biggest adjustments I've had. You're not just you anymore. It's almost like you are no longer one person, you're one and a half. And I feel like it's like a limb, like one of your arms or one of your fingers has sort of broken off and they live outside on their own and they have thoughts and opinions and they have all these demands, and all of a sudden you're not just one person anymore.
That is so funny the way that you describe it. So for those who are listening and watching, if you want to have kids, take this down. Like, honestly, I always tell people it is a full responsibility. As much you don't want to change your lifestyle, but you have brought a life into this world, so your life will change a little bit.
It will.
Yeah. But you will overcome it like Sowmya, so it's okay.
Yeah, I think it's an attitude, and it's something that I'm still working with, and it's better from day one to right now. It has progressed and it has evolved, but it's a journey. It doesn't just switch on. The attitude, initially you might think that it's really difficult, but as you go along, you realize that there are ways in which you can work around it.
Love it. Well, how are you guys dealing with this whole isolation, by the way?
Yeah, my husband was working from home and I was at home. I was stood down from my office for a month and a half. So I was at home for a month and a half, and so was Sufi. So it was all of us at home, and the regular blocks of time that I used to sort of think and write were not there suddenly. Like I lost all those pockets of time. So I had to sort of get creative and wake up a little earlier and things like that. But yeah, it was all three of us. Now Victoria has just loosened some of the restrictions. So just last week, she went into daycare for 2 days a week, which felt absolutely luxurious to me. And it was amazing. And I got the time finally. But other than that, it was all of us in our home and just going from one moment to the other.
Yeah, so how were you dealing with finding time to be creative when everything was like at once at you?
I had to work around, I had to sort of figure out energy levels, and I had to work out when my energy was good and when my energy was tired and low. Most often that meant that in the first few hours of the morning is when my energy felt like it was good. So I would wake up and I would write. I also did my part to understand the things that were taking away from my energy. And I think one of the biggest things that takes away from my energy is social media or even television. And I put some strict boundaries around that. So I didn't, like, when I woke up, I didn't like log into anything. I don't log into anything. I have a sign out policy from social media. So every time, even if I check something, I sign out of it so that it's more mindful for me. And I know that sometimes in the moment it feels like you're just checking, it's a bit of a rest, but it's not really a rest. I understood it takes away from my energy. So I had to put certain boundaries around that and understand that, like, watching a lot of Netflix or social media can feel good in the moment, but I realized that long term it was taking a lot of my energy, and I had to put boundaries around that. So that's how and all the time that I've reclaimed from not looking at social media or not watching TV has given me time, and more than time, it's given me energy. So where I felt completely depleted, I actually have more energy to spare to write or to be creative or to just let my mind wander. I've allowed myself to feel bored and just sit with my emotions. I feel like social media is just a way to not feel bored or not to sit with your emotions. I would just pick it up and scroll. So I don't do that, and sometimes it feels uncomfortable. At least in the beginning it did, but now it just feels like that's how I want to go forward with social media. I need to restrict it in my life.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that, because the other day I was talking to a friend of mine, and she did say that she has gotten not information fatigue when she went back onto social media. And I just want people who are listening and watching to be aware of that, because I know how uncomfortable it is to be with your emotion, but once you overcome that uncomfortableness, you will actually discover the new self, a new layer of yourself, and really you will be growing personally. Like Sowmya, see, right? What you just shared. It was beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Well, I know that we're both creatives, but I believe that everyone has creativity ingrained in them.
Yeah.
So how do you think people can be creative at home now, especially during this kind of time?
Yeah, like you said, like everyone is creative in a sense, and we just, I guess, need to find the little outlet that works for us. Sometimes it could be just even mindfully chopping onions when you need to make dinner for the night. Not like rushing through it, but just taking the time to like chop your onions in peace. Or it could be like having a small little garden. It doesn't have to be a huge garden. It could be like 3 plants in your home that you look after, and you put them out in the sun sometimes and you bring them back. That could be a form of creativity. It could be drawing. It could be just maybe sitting in a park with a notebook and sketching a few things for some people. I think it's important for us to realize that it doesn't have to be something we have to share with the world and get a lot of likes and comments. And it's the biggest purpose of creativity is to let us enjoy and let us have a moment where we feel loose and excited. It's like a child. Like when I asked Sufi to draw a sheep, she draws something that looks nothing like a sheep, and then she shows it to me with confidence, and she's like, a sheep. So she doesn't care who likes it. She doesn't care where it's shared, whether it is actually like a sheep. She just has fun doing it. And I feel like as adults, we sort of lose touch with that, and we're so scared to do something and fail at it. But I think for me, it's been important to realize that it's just my peace and my happiness for which I'm doing something. And maybe it could be just rearranging your living room so that you feel different, and you put a few new pillows around, or since it's winter now, we could put more warmer things around our apartment or our house. So creativity, I feel, can show up in many different ways. Like I have friends who are doing makeup for themselves every day, in lockdown. So that's a way of creativity. Or having a chance to have a conversation like this. You're doing such a good job with all these videos, which is again a form of creativity.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we can just, all of us, no matter if we have a creative profession or not, we can find a way to express ourselves. And I think, I think creativity is a way of expressing ourselves. Like we could put labels on all our spice jars and draw flowers on it, and it can be our little moment of creativity.
I love it. You know what? I honestly love how you mentioned about the onion part. I'm just so hung up on mindfully chopping your onion. You know what? We should have a competition. Onion chopping competition.
You pick off all the peels and you observe the onion, and then you wash it, and then you chop it. Because sometimes I notice that I'm just chopping the onions really quickly, but if I tune in to what I'm doing, it just feels that much more enjoyable, even chopping onions.
That was so funny. So that got me thinking about something that I shared with another friend the other day.
Yeah.
I said, we are meant to stay childlike and stay curious. So I would again encourage people to please be curious, and you have creativity ingrained in you. So don't underestimate that about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
So being a mom, it must be hard to find time for self-care.
Yeah.
Actually, share with people, like when you see self-care, what pops up in your head?
I think when I say self-care, the obvious things don't pop up in my head. Like it doesn't, spas and masking and beautification or pedicures, although they are important, I feel, to make yourself feel centered. I think it's more about, for me, self-care means being able to express your truest self without like hiding parts of yourself. So if I feel in a certain situation upset or unable to communicate, I will just let myself have those minutes. I won't like jump in and be part of a group just because that is expected of me. So I think a big part of self-care for me is the grace I give myself in situations. If I feel overwhelmed, I step back and let myself breathe without having the pressure that this is not how you're supposed to be. So that is a big part of self-care for me. Another big part of self-care is exercising, like physical exercise. I feel that exercising is tied in with my mental health, and if I don't move my body, it doesn't have to be like a crazy routine. It just has, for me, it has to be moving my body with maybe an hour of yoga, maybe a 30-minute run, maybe it just needs to happen at least once a day for me, for it to regulate how I feel in my mind and in my heart. So that sometimes it means saying no to a few things so I have the time to exercise. Maybe it says no to one show of Netflix, it says no to like meeting friends, maybe it says no to various different things, but I need to prioritize physical exercise for it, because I know that these are things that tie in directly with my mental health. And in that sense, exercising for me is self-care. And yeah, and the third form I think of self-care is the way we talk to ourselves. Our internal dialogue is a very important part of self-care. So I try my best to speak to myself like I would speak to my daughter, or like I would speak to a sister or a friend. So sometimes I'm tempted to tell myself that you didn't do this on the first go, that's a failure, or you know, many different ways. We just have to tune in, I think, to the way we speak to ourselves, and that's a very important part of self-care for me. So yeah,
I agree. Thank you so much for sharing that. Do you have a self-care routine, actually?
yeah, I do. My self-care routine, if I just think about the evenings, 7 o'clock is my daughter's bedtime. So as soon as she's in bed, I have a turn down service for the rest of my house. It's like a turn down service in a hotel room. So when she's in bed, I come outside, and the first thing I do is wash my face. And then I apply like a moisturizer on my face and on my hands. And then I sort of, in those maybe 10 minutes, I center myself. And I move from being like mama to being like myself. And then I come outside to the living room, and I change the lights, so all the bright lights are switched off, and I put on little small lamps around the room. And sometimes if I'm feeling it, I'll like light a candle, and I will make myself something warm. It could be like a green tea or just a warm water. And I will sit. Like earlier, what I would do is log in on social media and look at my phone, because that's the time when I feel exhausted. But instead of exhausting myself even more, I leave my phone away, and I just sit with my tea or with my warm beverage, or maybe with something to eat. And I just center myself. And that has been one of the biggest forms of self-care, like in terms of a routine. And I do it every single time, every single evening she goes to bed. For about 20 minutes is completely my time. And another ritual that I follow is I journal. So and like you said, like it's such an important part of like understanding what you feel. So maybe in the mornings I will journal for a bit, and I don't really put any pressure about any format that it has to be in. It's mostly just free flow, and the things that I think about, I write about it. And sometimes there are ideas that are in there for essays, sometimes not. And it's just a way for me to look after myself.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I just want to share with people that are listening and watching, because before we were talking about being creative, and you say, you know, well, we both said that there is creativity ingrained in us. That is sort of a type of self-care too, because you are, you know, doing something different, you're doing something for yourself. So everyone's self-care routine is different, and you know, it might vary. So please don't put yourself into that box. To be like, and what you just shared is just so beautiful, because sometimes when people think about self-care, it's like, oh, I need to do this, I need to do, you know, spa, whatever. But you know what you just shared, just something simple, is something that is just nourishing your soul, your body. So thank you.
Thank you.
And how is the physical exercise going? So you exercise every day, or
maybe about 5 times a week. And so I will do like a few times during the work week, and maybe once on the weekend. Mostly at least 3 times of those are yoga. So I'll do like 60-minute yoga sessions 3 times a week. And then on the weekends I go for a run. I'll go for a 5K run or a bike ride, depending on either or. And I don't have, like, the gyms are closed right now, so I don't have a gym membership, so to speak. So I'll go to the park and I do a few HIIT styled exercises sometimes, like, you know, crunches, burpees, things like that, run in place. So yeah, I try and do that. And my daughter is exposed to that exercising, and I feel like it's a healthy thing to expose a child to, because it shows that your mother is looking after herself, and it's good to be like physical and have fun, and sometimes she'll just imitate whatever I'm doing, and I feel like it's positive role modeling for her.
Yeah, you have
One of the
Continue.
most important things about physical exercise for me is I don't have it tied up to anything to do with a weight goal. Like it's completely tied to my mind and my mental health. And yeah, that's something that I want Sufi to get out of this, of watching me, I suppose, that I do it for my happiness and for my peace.
Yes, I love how you just mentioned that. Because a lot of people, they put too much pressure on themselves about how much they weigh and stuff like that. And another point that you have brought up so amazingly is the fact that you do it in front of Sufi and she sees you. So what people don't realize is that kids, they mimic parents. So as much as you want to tell them what they can do, perhaps you yourself can start doing it as well, so then they can see it. So
yeah, absolutely.
I'm grateful that you are doing it to love yourself and for Sufi as well.
Oh, thank you.
Is there any exercise that you can suggest for moms to do now at home?
You mean like a physical exercise?
Yeah.
I think one of the simplest forms of exercise for me is the very basic Surya Namaskar in yoga. It's a set of 10 easy poses that if you look online, or maybe you can share it in your show notes, it's such a beautiful way and works out the entire body and hence the entire mind. And you can start, if it's challenging, you could start with just one Surya Namaskar a day, which will take you less than 3 minutes. And you can build it up. You can go from 1 to 2 and then 3 when you feel more confident with it. But it doesn't require anything. It doesn't require much space. It doesn't require you to even change your clothes. Because I remember as a mom, it felt like when Sufi was younger, it felt like such a big deal to change out of your clothes and wear like exercise clothes and then have this whole process around it. With Surya Namaskar, while your child is there, you can just do it right next to them. So it's the most low investment form of exercise ever. And that's something I would suggest to everyone out there.
Love it. I will share it on the screen and in the show notes as well. Well, before I ask you my last question, is there anything that you feel like I didn't ask or you would like to share about yourself or anything?
I think you were great. I think you covered all the aspects, and it's been so fun chatting with you. And I feel like you touched upon everything that I've been eager to share with people. So thank you for being so thoughtful and mindful with your interview.
Thanks. Well, for those who want to, find out more about exercising, about writing, about being a mom, having a young one, please follow Sowmya. Your details will be in the description below. Yeah. Now, my last question for you is, how do you think that we can help each other right now?
I think biggest way we can help each other is to be sensitive to each other and to in order to encourage that openness from each other, we need to be open ourselves. So the next time you see someone or you're talking to someone on the video, given the situation we're in right now, I think it'll all be amazing if we could talk about how we're really feeling or the things that are really on our mind, or show parts of us that's imperfect and needs work and that we conceive of as weaknesses, because then it opens up dialogue and you can be sensitive to each other's experiences and form deeper bonds. And that's what we need right now. We need honest and deep bonds to rely on, and that's I think what we can do to support each other.
Thank you. That was so beautiful.
Oh, thanks.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for your time today. And
thank you so much for having me.
No worries.
Are you thinking about having kids? I don't think anyone is ever prepared to be a parent. But if you're wanting to be a parent, preparing your mindset could help. Because honestly, when you have a living being here on earth with you, everything changes. You need to find time for yourself, find time for them, find time to exercise and do self-care. Like what Sowmya said during the interview, I absolutely loved what she shared about self-care. Honestly, do something for yourself every day. Doesn't matter big or small. And I guess it applies to everyone. Doesn't matter if you are a parent or not. Please do something for yourself every day. Now, I have a few questions for you. Are you struggling to find your self-worth? Do you have trouble building up a good self-care routine and you are unsure how to start having positive self-talk? Well, I would highly recommend you to subscribe to Babylon Gray's YouTube channel because a self-development course is coming your way. You'll be able to learn about all these things and more. Now, don't forget to check out Sowmya's social media and go and read some quality writings on her website. All the details are in the description below. And please don't forget to subscribe. Click the thumbs up button if you have loved it. And share with someone because you never know what they're going through. And remember, you're amazing and you are not alone. You can click here to find out more about the self-development course that is coming at Babylon Gray, or you can click here to hear other self-empowering stories. I will see you in the next video.